why don't you talk about the book? What is the name of the book and what is it about?
Sure. It's called Supervision, and it's an innovative guide to being the supervisor when your employees are young and inexperienced. So I wrote it based on my experience at Southern Illinois University and the University of Hawaii, supervising mostly college-age students. I had some older professionals that I also supervised, but mostly like big teams of different positions and different categories of students, anywhere from freshman students to senior students. Occasionally there would be a student who was non-traditional student, but mostly they were in that like 17 to early 20s age range. Some of them, this was like their first job or their first real job. And I just wrote it about really trying to be perceptive about what a young employee needs from their supervisor, and to try to answer those questions for you, try to get in their minds and say, like, this is probably what they're thinking, this is why this happens. And then I tell like kind of how to get started, and I talk about the way that I did creative trainings with them, and I talk about all kinds of things that I did wrong. And
yeah, I think the thing that your
made.
book really does really, really well is it overcomes the curse of knowledge, right? Like once you've been in the world and you've been working for a long time and you're like, doesn't everybody just already know how to do this? And shouldn't you know when you're supposed to show up to work? And that's just common sense. And they forget that there was a time in their life when they didn't know what to do. And like, they didn't even really know how to ask. And you forget, like you talk about in the book, like, people are embarrassed to ask, what should I do next? Because they know that everybody around them thinks like, well, you should just already know what you're doing.
Yeah, I really think the concept of the curse of knowledge has been the biggest game changer for me, just as a supervisor in general. I think just understanding that concept, I teach it to people all the time. And I wish that more people, especially people really high up in leadership, would remember that people are constantly new. You're constantly having new people. And also, like, they have these meetings where they solve things in these meetings. And then it's like, well, that's done, solve that. And so they feel like everybody knows it. No, you had this conversation with all of you and then like a few other people, but you forgot to tell the rest of us. And I really think that being conscious of that has been a huge game changer for having happy employees, for being successful.